All right, Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory is to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and to all you brothers out there that's laboring in his work, pushing out this gospel in all diligence, truth, faith, and sincerity. Shalom. So yeah, I just want to get into a quick lesson concerning the climate on the planet right now and the fact that these devils, the so-called white man, starting with the wicked elite, is pretty much setting the stage and putting all the pieces together to bring about martial law, which martial law is going to be the bridge to the New World Order, which is these elites' agenda to establish New World Order. And how is these devils going to attempt to establish New World Order by way of bringing in martial law is by their laws. Because you got different people out there that look at us, and not just the men of the Lord, but anybody out there who bring out information concerning martial law. They look at you as some conspiracy theorist, but when you dig deep and scratch beneath the surface and do any extensive research, you'll find that, these devils, all right, starting with the elite banking families, has been signing different laws into legislation to make this martial law a reality. So I just want to get right into it. It says, how likely is martial law in the United States? All right, it says, let's face it, this country is a ticking time bomb from widespread social unrest, crime, and violence to a growing national debt, which includes the entire subset of our population that depends on government assistance to exist. The writing is on the wall, trouble is coming, right? And what these devils do to pretty much condition you and soften you for the blow is bring about these certain false flags. You see that word domestic terrorism being thrown around more often. Why? Because they setting the stage for martial law, man. In the spiritual, that they say the writing is on the wall. When you go back to the times of ancient Babylon, all right, the prophet Daniel was on the scene. It actually was a writing on the wall that signaled the fall of Babylon. And now America, which is known as modern day Babylon, you see the writing on the wall, man. All right? Because when you consider certain so-called natural disasters or these false flags, well, what happens is they announce a state of emergency, which a state of emergency is equivalent to martial law. So really, in reality, martial law is already in effect. And it's certain laws that's on the books that these devils have put together that's going to ensure martial law, all right? Because you got to remember, again, these devils, they trust in their law, all right? It says, in my opinion, we are already under a form of martial law, right? Like just like what I just said. All right, you go to these big cities, you see these militarized polices, all right, with these AR-15s, assault rifles. Even amongst domestic police, they got these guys in these fatigues because they conditioning the people, all right, to get your mind ready for what's about to happen, all right? They've been doing drills. So indeed, martial law is here. It says the founders never intended standing armies policing the citizens of the United States. Sadly, that is exactly what we have. Drones, armored vehicles, yeah, and that's the spirit, because when we was at camp the week before last, we had a drone to hover over our camp. All right? It wasn't just a coincidence. It was a drone that hovered over our camp, and it was trying to be discreet, but the spirit had where we sniffed it out. And not only that, we looked deep, back in the crowd behind us, and there was a shadowy figure in all black, man. All right? It says drones, armored vehicles with high-powered weapons, tanks, and battlefield helicopters are no longer something that you see on some foreign battlefield. It's now standard operating procedure at police stations throughout the country. Our federal government has poured billions of dollars into militarizing and taking over the country's local police forces in what can only be described as a domestic military force or standing army meant to enforce federal law. Because the citizens of America is the new enemies, all right? Because these devils, starting with the wicked elite, they want to pretty much own you. They want to control you, and they want to, they look at you as goyim, as cattle, man. That's why when you read Revelation, the 13th chapter, 16th verse concerning the mark of the beast, when you go into that word mark, it's charagma, all right, with something implanted. And when you go deeper, it means stake, all right? For instance, if you are marking off your land or your property, you put a stake, you set up a fence and you put a stake in the ground. And that chip is going to be symbolic to a stake, which means they staking their claim, which are you American citizens. And they got laws on the books, all right? You got Rex 84, all right? You got different laws that they're going to look to get rid of those undesirables, if you will, the people that know their rights and that's going to resist martial law or resist the chip. Then you got others that's just goyim, that's cattle that they're going to keep around, and they're going to just, force you to be their slaves. That's what this martial law, this new world order is all about, man, making you perpetual slaves. Why? Because the Esau, the so-called white man, is the devil, man. They don't believe in nobody coexisting with them. They believe that they the Most High, and everybody else is beneath them. All right? It says on September 29, 2006, President George W. Bush signed the John Warner National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, for fiscal year 2007, H.R. 5122. The law expanded the president's authority to declare martial law under revisions to the Insurrection Act and actually allowed the president to take charge of National Guard troops without state governor authorization. And that's signed into the books. Bush signed it, but it stands today. All right. With this guy, Donald Trump, he can enact that law. All right. He can utilize that law. While certain aspects of the bill were rolled back in 2008, President Obama used the 2012 NDAA to further strengthen the executive office's ability to declare martial law and provide provisions that will allow military troops to detain U.S. citizens without trial. See? Which, if you could look it up, is a term called summary execution, which means without any trial, they can scoop you up and they can sentence you to death right on the spot without a trial, man. These are the things that you American citizens are unaware of, man. But the men of the Lord gave us that eye salve to see it. And if you are not one to listen to what we telling you, and you dismiss what we telling you, all right, as just being counterfeit, then you're going to get caught right up in it. All right? Yeah, it's a lot more in this. Well, I'll read the very bottom. Well, let me read right here. It says, back in 2012, an Army report about the future use of the military as a police force within the United States looked at theoretical situations where the U.S. Army could be used against Tea Party insurrections who take over U.S. cities. During that same time period, the Department of Homeland Security released a report titled Hot Spots of Terrorism and Other Crimes in the United States, where they outlined who the federal government sees as the largest terrorist threat in the country. That threat was U.S. citizens with extreme right-wing views. So again, the target is you citizens, man. Martial law is not set up to protect you. It's set up to pretty much take you out. When you go to the core or the motivation of these devils, it goes back to the Georgia Guidestones, where they're trying to depopulate the earth. All right? It shows how much of a devil the so-called white man, beginning with his elites. They think that they got the right to decide who is fit to live and who's not fit to live. All right, it says, let me go down to the bottom. So how likely is martial law in the United States? Well, it's already here. Unfortunately, most people will choose to ignore the reality of the situation. Just like I just said, you're going to have people to actually ignore when we tell you these things, all right? But indeed, it's a fact, and the scriptures actually speaks about it. This is Psalms 52:2. Thy tongue deviseth mischiefs like a sharp razor working deceitfully. And this is dealing with Esau, the so-called white man. And that tongue represents their laws. They put laws into effect that pretty much work of mischief. Now, when you look up this word mischief, which we're about to do, all right, it'll give you more understanding on what the scriptures is talking about, man. All right? It says a desire in bad sense. Chasm of destruction, engulfing ruin, destruction, calamity. So these devils' tongue, all right, deviseth destruction. Their laws are set up for destruction. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back to this, but let me get a quick scripture. Something Yahushua said concerning these devils, man. It's St. John chapter 10 and verse 10. The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. Yeah, those are two different extremes. All right? Light and darkness, righteousness and wickedness. There's no in between. These devils, the so-called white man, come to kill, steal, and destroy. That's what they devising. That's what they signing in the legislation, man. Destruction. But Yahushua is coming to bring life. And how is Yahushua coming? Through the form of his men that you see here at Great Millstone. If you subscribe to what we teaching, then that means that you're going to follow after life. But if you dismiss what we say and you continue to follow after these devils, then destruction is coming. And it's on the way, man, in the form of martial law. All right? So back in Psalms chapter 52, starting at verse 2, thy tongue devises mischiefs like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness. Salah. And that's what they do, man. They lie, all right? What they write and sign in the legislations is all done in the shadows, which means they're liars, man. All right? They might tell you that martial law is here to protect you. All right? They'll set up false flags. They'll tell you that it's domestic terrorism on the rise, but they the ones that's behind it. Fucking devil, man. Verse 4, thou lovest devouring words, O thou deceitful tongue. And yep, and that's dealing with their laws. Their laws are devouring words. What they're signing in the legislation is not going to give you life. It's only going to devour you, man. Martial law is going to be hell on you people, man. All right? They got these FEMA coffins. They got coffins already lined up in certain parts of the world. They got guillotines, high efficient guillotines. Electronical that chop your head off, just chop you off and keep it moving, man. The Most High shall likewise destroy thee forever. He shall take thee away and pluck thee out of thy dwelling place and root thee out of the land of the living. Salah. So that's the good news about it. The Lord is going to avenge us, okay? The righteous also shall see and fear and shall laugh at him. And that's what we do. We see these devils, man. They not getting away with these traps and snares. Matter of fact, this is Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 17. It says, surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. Right. And the bird represents the men that can see what these devils is doing. So that net that you setting it in vain, man. Because we see exactly what you're doing, man. All right? And how are you doing it? By way of your laws. Because you devils actually trust in your laws. Isaiah 10 and 1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. And that's dealing again with these certain bills, these acts, Rex 84, all right, these different legislations that they put in the writing, man, so that they could bring about grievousness. All right? So that's pretty much it, man. We in the time where these devils is about to bring about martial law. Why? Because they know that they have but a little time, pursuing the Revelation 12th chapter and the 12th verse. And it's here, man. like in the article I read, is already here. Only thing left is, shortly, man, you're going to see a lot more false flags. You're going to see something that's going to happen on a grand scale that's going to shake up all you Americans, man. Because right now, you Americans, you just, you're getting ready to tailgate for football this weekend, man, or some dumb shit, all right? You got the DVR, recorded on some damn reality TV show. But in a minute, is something going to happen. This devil is going to bring something about that's going to shake up all you Americans, and it's going to capture your attention. And that's when this martial law is going to really take off, all right? So, let this be a warning to you people out there that's coming across this word and you taking light of this word. It's time to repent because, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Until the next time I say shalom.